I don't know what I wrote this past week.
If you can think of anything relevant to discuss. Okay, and that sound means that we're live now. Somebody has their notifications on.
Ooh.
Quiet. Didn't happen. I
Poor David.
I think we should have a moment of silence for David because he might not make it to the next podcast.
Press F for respects.
Okay, Chrome OS added this thing where if you touch anything on the touchscreen, it shows like where your finger is, like that option in Android.
Oh, nice.
Really getting on my nerves.
But is it just on by default?
Yeah, I don't know if you can even turn it off.
That's strange.
Yeah. Okay, what did I write this past week? Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. We're talking about that for 30 minutes.
I don't know anything about that or why anyone is excited for it.
Pocket Camp, Animal Crossing is amazing. I played it with Liam a couple times when he was here. It was great. Nothing else. I guess Android Studio 3.0 is kind of neat, but I don't think anyone would care that's listening.
Okay, I'll be honest, I frankly don't care.
Yeah, no, I don't care either.
I actually use it, and I don't even want to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, nothing else really exciting.
Okay, Jeff, where you at?
I guess with the Android 8.1 stuff, we can talk about how the visual core chip is now working.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we will give Jeff 1 additional minute.
Start the countdown.
There is some strange background sound coming from somewhere.
Some typing. I'm not. It's not me.
No, it's mine. I won't be doing that during the podcast, but when are we recording now too?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, David is recording us on his end, and then he will stop the hangout later.
So, chat is asking for some talk about the V30 also.
I can do that. Yeah, I mean we haven't posted the review yet, but I have used it. I have one, so yeah, put that on the sheet so that we don't forget.
Sheet.
Actually dovetails nicely with the Pixel because of screens. Screens that suck and screens that don't.
I'm just stuffing it in after Android 8.1.
This is fine.
What is a pre-show? We just sit here and stare at each other.
Okay, so we're gonna go, and Jeff can hop on when he gets here. You guys know what order you're gonna do. It's going me, and then Cody, and then you guys figure it out.
You go first, Corbin. Okay, fine.
Okay.
I'll go after Cody.
Okay, everybody, shut up.
Shut up.
Welcome to the Android Police Podcast. I am Ryan Whitwam.
I'm Cody Toombs.
I'm Jordan Palmer.
And I'm Corbin Davenport.
And you may notice we are missing David this week. He's out sick. Hopefully he returns to us next week. And we may or may not have Jeff Beck hopping on here in a couple minutes, who is apparently running late. But I guess that's what's happened. What happens when you have kids?
Yep.
So, in the meantime, while we wait for Jeff, I know it's hard to get down to business without Jeff here. But we're going to talk about mostly the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL, which has been the source of a great deal of drama over the last few days.
So, yeah, there's basically nonstop hot topics about mostly the display. There's a couple of other major things, but everyone is pretty much spitting venom over a blue cast, if you look at the screen at an off angle, what is, some people say burn-in, other people are calling it image retention. There's also issues with basically slow appearing pixels. That's a side effect of OLED, where the pixel is turned off for true black and it doesn't turn on immediately for light. Let's see, there was another one, wasn't there?
Unevenness. Some people see the graininess.
Yeah.
So look, I will say we have a whole review that people should go and read, and I spent several hundred words talking about the display, which I think is fine. It's totally fine. People are being crazy and nitpicking now because that's the thing to do. Because several people have made it their mission apparently to talk crap about this phone's display nonstop. I don't know why. I guess they are enjoying the attention it gets them, but there's really nothing that unusual about the qualities of the display. So let's see. Okay, let's go down the list. The blue cast thing, that seems to vary from device to device. Mine has it to a very slight degree. I mean, if I get like 45 degrees off axis, I can definitely see a little bit of blue on like the far edge, but it's not super noticeable and it does not bother me. I think it gets blue to approximately the same degree that a lot of Samsung screens get red in the same situation. So not super concerned about that. The graininess, I don't really get that. I mean, it's got a little bit more of a texture than Samsung's recent panels, but it's really hard to notice that. Like the V30 display, way worse. Not only is that's like grainy, but it's uneven and just blotchy and terrible. The Pixel screen is way better. Let's see, what else was there? Oh, the burn-in. Okay, so this is something that we should discuss in more detail. And Jeff Beck is here.
I am here.
Okay, so the burn-in, this happened a couple days after the initial drama started. People are like, hey, my screen is already burnt in. This thing is terrible. And I checked mine at that time and I was like, oh, I guess I can kind of see the home button a little bit. But I played some full screen video for a couple minutes and I looked again and I couldn't see it. So that led me to believe that it was just image retention, which happens more on LCDs, but can still happen on OLEDs too. So I was pretty confident like that was a non-issue. But people have continued to talk about it. And that's one of the things that Google has been investigating since it initially got all the reports about the screen, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then let's see. Oh, the color profile people were not happy with because it's sRGB and that looks to them, more dull than, than other screens they have seen. Because if you get a Samsung phone, the default calibration is like super saturated. Google is going to fix that, apparently. So after all this investigation that they've apparently been doing, they just right before the show, they announced that they're going to push out an update that offers a more saturated color profile. I assume you'll have to turn that on in the settings. And they are extending the warranty for the Pixels to 2 years, which is cool. And they said the burn-in is not a thing, that it's not happening. Like the burn-in profile of this panel is in line with other high-end phones. So I don't know. I guess that doesn't really surprise me that they would say that because all OLEDs have burn-in, and I felt like we weren't even really seeing burn-in yet. We were just seeing image retention.
So at this point, anyone else on, correct me if I'm wrong, but Ryan and I are the only ones that have Pixel 2 XLs, correct? Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't have one.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and rub that in a little bit more.
Yes, that was on purpose.
Yeah, really cute, Cody. Does my mic sound okay, by the way?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, it actually does.
Excellent.
So I'll hit the same points Ryan did for my experience with it. And I only got mine 2 days ago or 3 days ago, something like that. Anyway, so I don't have any issues with burn-in or retention yet. Obviously, it's just too young for that. But the blue cast, I noticed it almost immediately. And when I pulled it out of the box, I kind of made a concerted effort to treat it just as a new phone. Like I wasn't looking for the problems. And just at one point, like not long after I signed into the phone, I just kind of held the phone away from me at an angle, not on purpose, just like I let my arm rest, and I immediately noticed it. It's definitely blue. It's a very noticeable blue to me. But
is it a pretty blue though? Is the question.
Actually, kind of is.
You're not a bug.
It's like that. It's like that beautiful Hawaiian water blue. No, but it was really noticeable. But the thing is, I don't care. Like, to me, it is such a stupid thing to complain about because you don't hold the phone that way. I hate to steal from Steve Jobs on this, but you're holding it wrong if this is something that's going to be an issue for you. So I just don't understand the issue with the blue cast. That doesn't seem like something people should complain about.
I'm gonna have to withhold judgment until I can actually see one. I tried to go see one at my local Verizon store, and the 4 reps I talked to, none of them had heard of the Pixel 2 yet. So
wow, that's not good. Was this a Verizon, like a corporate store?
A corporate Verizon store. Wow. Like, why do you want to buy the Pixel? It's a year old, man. It's like, no, the new one. It's not a new one. We would know.
You know what? They were playing dumb because they wanted to sell you a Note 8 and get their spiff bonus.
There you go. I'm sure.
Okay, so I think that I guess, I mean, I agree with Cody that like the blue cast, even if you have it, it doesn't seem like a big deal to me, because almost any time you're using the phone, it's not going to affect the way the screen looks. But I also suspect that this varies a lot from one device to the next, because mine has very, very subtle blue cast, and I've seen pictures of other phones that have, very subtle blue cast. And I've seen some that look much more blue. And, and then it's always hard to tell what a screen looks like when you're looking at a picture of it on another screen. Yeah. So I guess I am trusting that people are accurately representing their phones in these photos, but maybe I shouldn't. But at any rate, I would not be surprised if the blue thing is much less prevalent on phones that people get in a few weeks, because Google most likely has had a very awkward phone call with LG and yelled at them about quality control things. But I mean, so then what else was? Oh, there's the pixel lag, the smearing, which I think is more noticeable than any of these other issues that people were complaining about right off the bat.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Okay, you tell me what your experience was with it, and then I'll parrot mine back.
So I noticed this the first night I had the phone, and I talked about it in the review because I think that's probably something that's universal to this panel. Everybody will have that because that's just the nature of how OLED pixels work, and you can see that on a lot of devices. And LG's panels are just more noticeable right now. They're just not as advanced as Samsung's panels. So if you have the brightness low, I would say like the bottom 10% or so of the slider, and you're in a dark room, it will be pretty obvious that while you're scrolling, anything that is black sort of looks like it's bleeding into other colors when you scroll, because it takes a little bit longer for those black pixels to turn on, because black on an AMOLED is off.
It's totally off, yeah.
Yeah. So you will probably see this if you get this phone. That will be obvious to you that it's happening. I guess it's sort of up to individual people if they think that is super annoying or not. I'm not overly annoyed by it because, I mean, it's not something that happens constantly. It's only when you're scrolling, and it's only on certain sorts of layouts where there's black and then not black right next to it.
So as far as it goes, right out of the gate, I'll agree. I didn't notice it until I think it was either late last night or early today, something like that. I was looking at YouTube Music, the app, and it's only because that app has a big black background on it that it's super noticeable. Basically, as you're scrolling, you see the video thumbnails. They'll actually the top or bottom will have this big color distortion fade effect for I don't know, probably 10% of the image. And then there are these 1 pixel or 2 pixel wide lines as like dividers, and those completely vanish if you scroll just a little too fast. And if you're scrolling kind of super slow speed, they look almost like flickering radio signals or something, like the oscilloscopes. That's kind of what it looks like when the pixels are kind of popping in and out. It's the thing is though, you're only going to see it in apps that have a lot of black in them.
Yeah. When I noticed it, it was I was using a Reddit app in AMOLED black mode, so like it was black, and then like the entire UI was black except for the content. So that was obviously very noticeable. And it's and I mean, I remember when I got the Note 8 a while back, and I noticed on that phone it was doing the same thing, not obviously to the same degree, but I remember thinking, that's weird. I would have thought Samsung would have fixed that by now. But so even Samsung's panels still do that, but not as much, obviously. So I mean, I think the bottom line of this display is that it has all of the OLED quirks, the same stuff that Samsung panels have, but it just does a lot of them maybe a little bit worse. It's not my favorite panel that I've ever looked at, but I think it's totally fine. It doesn't bother me. I don't look at it and dread having to use the phone. So I think people should probably chill out a little bit.
I do find it interesting that LG beat Samsung to the market with OLED TVs, and Samsung's done so well with OLED phone screens. I know the technologies have some differences, but you think they'd both be able to do both mobile and TVs at this point in time?
And I mean, LG has focused on LCDs for smartphones, and I mean, the last time I think they did an OLED before this was the Flex 2, and that was a bad screen.
That was a bad phone.
They've done some OLEDs on their watches. Like I have a watch style around here someplace with an LG OLED, and it looks much worse than the Pixels OLED. It's very obviously grainy.
Yeah, those were terrible OLEDs. I remember checking those out.
Yeah, and I mean, I was. We'll talk about the V30, I think, shortly here a bit. But I mean, I remember when I got that phone and I looked at the panel like, man, I hope the Pixel 2 is not like this, because it was unpleasant, and it's way better than that. So I mean, just on the basis of that, I was happy with what with what Google had done with LG on that.
That's kind of curious as well. How is it that LG sourced better parts for Google's phone than for their own flagship device?
Well, they're manufacturing panels. It's probably just a slightly different production run. They wanted different qualities for the panel, and I mean, LG's the V30 panel is tuned to be obnoxiously vibrant. So there might be some sort of manufacturing differences to make that a reality.
So actually, I have a bit of a theory that it's probably just because LG wanted to get the V30 out sooner, and they wanted to make sure there was never going to be a production shortage on it. So I think they probably committed those panels to the V30 first, and when it came time for Pixel, it was a later production run, and they just came out with better panels.
So you think it could possibly the exact same panel, just better produced? That's interesting theory.
Yes, this is also possible. Okay, so I think we've covered the Pixel screen in sufficient detail. The rest of the phone is pretty fantastic, though. I mean, people might have the varying opinions on how good the screen on the XL is, but man, it is a really good phone. It's fast. It's as fast as the original Pixel, and a little bit more so in certain ways. The camera is excellent. I think the design of the XL is very attractive. I like that the panel, it has the rounded corners that goes all the way closer to the edges, and it has smaller bezels, and there are front-facing speakers on both phones. I am so sick of the bottom firing single speaker.
Yep.
Yeah, that's been a bummer for me. I went to an S8 Plus.
That's probably one of the reasons my 5X started boot looping around the time the Pixel came out. So I bought the Pixel, and the front-facing speakers was probably the biggest thing I missed from the 5X, besides the price. But yeah, the front-facing speakers were great on that.
Yeah, I mean, the front-facing speakers on the Pixels are, they're pretty good. I feel like the XL gets a little bit louder and clearer than the Pixel 2, but I mean, other people have disagreed with me on that. So I don't know. Maybe they're just very, very similar. and I'm just nitpicking. But just having them on the front of the phone facing you is a huge improvement. Even if there are like better like individual speakers on certain phones, it's nice to have two of them.
That brings up an interesting point. How many Pixels do you think they will sell in relation to the Pixel 2? Because I find it to be, from a design standpoint, a far inferior phone. I think it's well worth the money to pay a little more to get a much better looking device than the Pixel XL. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I think they'll probably sell more of the XL in the long run. They probably have seen some reductions in the short term just because it's gotten so much bad press, but hopefully they work that stuff out. But I mean, I don't necessarily fault the Pixel 2 too much for the design, because it has all of the same hardware in it as the big phone. So there was always going to have to be some compromises, I think, to make a phone with a 5-inch screen that had all that stuff and front-facing speakers. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice if it looked a little bit more sleek, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely think that they'll sell more XLs just because they don't seem to be pushing the smaller ones at all. Like, you never really see them in the advertising.
If you go to the Pixel 2 listing on the Google Store, you have to really hunt to find a picture of the regular phone.
I wonder if anyone's ordered the regular phone, not realizing that it looks significantly different.
Maybe they'll open it and be like, "Hey, what is this that Google sent me? This isn't the phone I asked for."
The screen isn't turning on. It's so weird.
Yeah, but I mean, and neither phone has a headphone jack, which some people think is a deal breaker. It doesn't really bother me.
That kind of bothers me, but not to the point where I would really find it a deal breaker.
Is the Pixel 2's Bluetooth better than last year's Pixels?
It is. It has been vastly improved.
I think it would be less offensive to me if there were more headphones available with the USB Type-C plug without having to worry about a dongle.
There are very, very few. Google sells one of the few on the Google Store, and they're $150.
They're spending. See,
they're nice. They're nice headphones, but like $150 nice. I don't know about that.
See, the selling proposition for me would be a set of headphones that charges via USB Type-C, and that same cable also doubles to connect to my phone. That would be a nice set of headphones. I'd enjoy this.
So, like, what they would be wireless too?
They'd be wireless, but instead of having an aux port and a charging port, you'd have one port on the headphones and one port on the phone that do all the same. You could even charge the headphones from the phone.
Okay, you know what's funny is so the same company that makes those Type-C headphones that you can get, they also make Bluetooth headphones that Google is selling. Libratone is the name of the company.
Yeah,
so they make good company. They make these they're very nice Bluetooth headphones. And the thing is, like, so they have an aux port, so you can use them with other stuff. And they have a charging port that is micro USB.
It's really hard to find a set of headphones that have USB Type-C at all on them.
I know accessory makers have gotten a free pass. I think that, it's like, oh, well, it's micro USB, but whatever, they're just headphones, or it's just, it's just a mouse or whatever. But like, you know what, the hell with that. It's time to start.
I'm so sick of micro USB. I want it to die. I'm beyond it. So.
Yeah. I mean, like, Samsung's the new Icon X earbuds, they charge with Type-C, which is rad. There are other things about them that I don't like, but I do like that they charge via Type-C. That's very nice.
I think 2017 is a year I could still move past. By next year, if new devices are still coming out in micro USB, I'm going to put it in a cons list for sure.
Yeah. I mean, budget phones this year have still been shipping with micro USB, which is a problem. I think, next year, definitely even a budget phone needs to have Type-C. It's time to pull that Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
I know HTC makes Type-C headphones that they bundle with like the U11.
Yeah, they do.
Do they sell those separately?
I don't think so, but I mean, I haven't really been
Doesn't
hunting
have some
around.
weird stuff in it that it wouldn't work.
It has like their some kind of boom sound, I think, something. I honestly have no idea.
Are they still using the boom sound slogan?
I think so.
Possibly. I don't know.
They did
I'm going to be honest. I don't pay a lot of attention to HTC anymore.
Yeah, they are a falling star.
Yeah, I brought that up because I think that's probably the only pair of Type-C headphones I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very rare. But I mean, the phones do come with adapters, and the sound quality on the adapter seems fine. Google was originally
Yes.
going to sell additional adapters for $20, and people were upset about that, so they lowered the price to $9, which I guess that's okay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the HTC does sell a type of USB-C earbuds, but they're from JBL, and they're very obviously not the ones that come with the phones because they're $150.
Yeah. Well, but, at least that's another option for buying headphones, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if I would tell anybody to buy the $150 pair that Google is selling. Probably for the time being, just use your old headphones with the adapter. The adapter is fine.
Yeah,
maybe get a spare adapter in case you lose it. But
yeah, I would agree. Live with it for now because there's going to be a lot of really decent USB-C headphones coming.
Yeah, this is happening. This is the way things are going to be. So I mean, in go months or a year or whatever, there will be good, reasonably priced options. You can get a nice pair of Type-C headphones, and they'll work with lots of stuff. Hopefully, all the things. But and for the time being, though, it is still kind of weird because I noticed when I plugged in the Type-C headphones into the Pixel, they were behaving very oddly, and I couldn't figure they would only connect part of the time, and I was like, well, this is stupid. This seems like it was a bad idea. And then I installed the app for the headphones, and it was like, oh, hey, there's a firmware update for your headphones. Would you like to install that on your headphones? And I was like, well, I guess. Okay. And they worked much better after that. Huh?
What brand of headphones were they?
The Libertone headphones.
The Libertones. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah. And I was like, well, I guess, firmware updates on headphones are going to be a thing now.
Yeah. For everything. All the things.
Yeah. So, So the headphone jack thing, whatever, not a big deal. So they shipped these phones with 8.0. But we are currently finding out there are a lot of things in 8.0 that are actually 8.1 things because Google just announced the developer preview for 8.1. And it's kind of like other phones are suddenly Pixels.
Yeah, it's very much what 7.1 was for the Nexus 5X and 6P. It brought over a lot of the Pixel features. Yeah,
so I mean, we have our usual collection of feature spotlights on the site that people can read if they want to see, all of the stuff that is new. And it feels like it's mostly it's subtle, sort of, nice to have things. There aren't any huge features in 8.1. Correct me if I'm wrong. There are the wallpaper themes for the launcher are available on more devices now. That shipped on the Pixels. That was exclusive, sort of temporarily. And then
actually there was one massive feature, which was the Bluetooth battery.
Yes,
Android
battery,
6 years ago.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're always pulling out your hair because you don't know how long until your headphones die, I guess 8.1 is what you're waiting for. So like the other developer previews recently, it is available on Pixel devices and on the last gen Nexus phones. The beta program, I think, with the OTAs, it just started pushing out a little bit ago as we were recording this, so you can join that and you don't have to have an unlocked bootloader to Flash. But Google's going to have that finished up, I think, in December, and they will push that out to their devices. Other phones, not really. It's kind of funny. Everybody who's been waiting for an Oreo update on their phones, they're going to get 8.0. That's going to happen, and then they'll get 8.1 next year, maybe.
Maybe.
It's actually funny. I thought Samsung was going to completely ignore 7.1, but then over the past couple weeks, we've seen one or two of their things get 7.1.
Yeah, it's these point updates that Google has done last year and this year, I think, are really kind of annoying for a lot of OEMs.
Well, assuming they care, Samsung already has.
Anytime they sell a phone that doesn't technically have the most recent version of Android, there will be certain people who will complain to them about that and bug them about when the update is coming, even if it is a pretty minor update.
Yeah, you're assuming they listen.
Well, they have support people who are technically required to listen, even if they don't do anything about it.
Yeah, I think the purpose of support. I've worked with companies that very much actually do this. Support is there just to prevent people from ever bugging anybody else at the company.
Yeah, I would believe that.
It's a sad truth.
So, okay, are there any other 8.1 things that we want to call out in particular that deserve some attention?
I'm actually really sad about the Wi-Fi off while the phone is sleeping setting disappearing. Rita just introduced me to that a couple months ago, and I actually love that feature. And now it's being taken away.
So what is the appeal of that?
I have a tablet that I use like once a week, and it sits on my bedstand. And if I turn on that setting, the next time I pick it up, it's still at like 85, 90% battery. If that setting is off, it dies like within a day's time. So
I mean, I feel like Google probably felt that this feature might not be necessary anymore because doze mode is really effective.
Well, it's an older version of Android, so maybe that's the reason why. Maybe it's because it's a doze-free tablet from China.
Is it like Lollipop something?
It's a Xiaomi tablet. I think it's running 6 or 7. I can't remember.
Yeah, well, 6 had doze, but it wasn't as good as 7.
Yeah,
so
whatever. It's the default sucks because it dies really fast when that setting.
I mean, it might also just be that the software on that tablet sucks. So
or the tablet itself sucks.
The Asus tablet I reviewed, the Z8, the doze on that was incredible.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good on the Z10 also.
I mean, it had a big battery too, so that helped a little bit. But like, I would just leave it on my desk for like 3 days, and it would go down like 2%.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, has anybody else here used a V30?
Nope.
Okay.
Not that special.
Monologue time.
Okay, so just real briefly, so we are still planning a review for the V30 that's going to happen. We haven't posted it yet, but so the V30 I have been using. I used it before the Pixel came. I had one of those, and like we mentioned earlier, I think the screen is problematic. I mean, I've only had the one. Well, I saw a prototype at IFA, back when we were there, and then the retail unit I have now, and the screen on both of those that I've seen, it was real bad. So I think it's bad enough that I would call it a deal breaker. I don't know if that will improve. Maybe new lots will be better, but just based on what I've seen, I am annoyed using the V30. It has very, very obvious banding on the OLED that you can see at basically every brightness level.
That would drive me absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is unpleasant, and it made me like hyper aware of the sort of like the graininess aspect when I got the Pixel. And we have in the picture in the Pixel review, there's a picture of a V30 next to a Pixel 2 XL, both like showing a gray background on low brightness. You can see a very clear difference between the panels. So I'm not super pleased about that. The V30 does have a headphone jack and a quad DAC, and it sounds very, very good. If you have nice headphones, you plug them in and turn on the quad DAC, it is a good experience. So if a headphone jack is absolutely non-negotiable, maybe you would be willing to overlook the screen. I don't know. The build quality of the V30 is pretty good. It's actually a very nice phone to hold because despite having a big 6-inch screen, it is weirdly light. I don't know how LG did that. It's noticeably lighter than other phones. It's a lot lighter than the Pixel. It's lighter than the Note 8. And it's very thin. And I think it's a very well-designed phone. I just wish that the screen was not so bad. But yeah, so I mean, if LG can fix the screen issue, if that's something they can do, then maybe it would be something worth recommending. But for right now, I don't know. I would probably steer clear of it. But we'll have a review. I think David is writing it, and you can find out all about that later. I'm sure he will complain about the screen too.
I'm sure he will, among other things.
Yeah. So, and then we also, like, just a couple of days after the Pixel review, we had the Moto X4 review, which I also wrote. And this was the Android One version of the Moto X4. It's the first Android One phone in the US. It's on Fi. It's supposed to be the sort of the budget device for Fi, but it's still $400, and the specs are not really very impressive. It has a Snapdragon 630. There have only been a couple of phones that launched with the 630. It is only marginally faster than a 625. It still uses the Qualcomm reference cores, or rather the ARM reference cores. And Motorola, I felt like has always done a very good job of optimizing for modest hardware, but I don't know what it is about the X4. It just didn't feel as quick as other Motorola phones, which was a bummer. And the camera was really, really slow, like obnoxiously slow and bad. And I can't fathom paying $400 for a phone with a camera like that. It was arduous and unpleasant to use. So just, I mean, on the basis of those two things, I don't really think people should buy it. And then, so the weird thing, because this is an Android 1 phone, it has slightly different software than the regular X4 will have. It has some of the Motorola features, like it has Moto Display, but it doesn't have the wireless sound system thing that they showed off at IFA, where you can connect multiple Bluetooth devices and use them sort of like surround sound. It just doesn't do that. It doesn't have, let's see, it doesn't have Alexa, which is a thing on the regular X4, which, you know, because Google phone, they want you to use Assistant, obviously. It is a very weird sort of software build. And I wonder if maybe there's some sort of, I don't know, like a problem with getting that out the door with the modifications, and it's just not optimized very well. Maybe the regular X4 will be better, but I mean, paying $400 for that is questionable. And I also personally just think it's kind of ugly. I liked it when I first saw it, but the more I used it and looked at it, I just can't, like adding the sort of ridiculous hash mark embellishment to the giant camera sensor on the back was a mistake, because that is the phone's worst feature. And
it does look very odd.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just sad it's not made out of bamboo. That was like my favorite thing.
Yeah,
Motorola phones in general.
Calling this a Moto X is just kind of a slap in the face to people who loved the first 3 Moto X phones, because it's not. It is in no way a Moto
Those things
X.
were sexy. I liked those phones a lot. I never had one, but I always wanted one.
There's no customization at all. Like, you get a gold phone, you get a black phone, and that's it. And
we need to bring back Moto Maker.
The glass on this phone is so slippery. Like, I don't know how they made it so much more slippery than other phones. But like, I would just like sit it on my desk, and if it's sort of like resting on something and is at a very slight angle, it will, without fail, it will just sort of slide down whatever it's sitting on. And like,
it's migrating through your house on the floor.
Even the metal, even the metal edge of the phone is weirdly slippery. So it's just not really a very fun phone to hold. So I don't know. It's water resistant, though. I guess that's nice. Motorola's phones have not been water resistant in the past. But I don't know. Unless the regular Moto X4 is somehow better than the Android 1 version, I don't think that's worth buying. I mean, if you want a phone on Fi and you're not willing to buy a Pixel for $650, I guess that's kind of your only choice. But I mean, how many? That's like, what, 5 people? Like, there aren't really that many. There aren't that many people on Fi in the first place.
True.
True that.
Even though I'm on Fi.
You're part of the Fi squad.
I think we're a very select group. I don't know anybody in real life. I don't know anybody in real life that uses Fi.
Well, to be fair, I'm on both AT&T and Fi, so
we are a very unusual group, obviously.
I'm on T-Mobile. I just thought I'd tell everyone what I'm on, since you all told me what you're on. So seems fair.
I'm on T-Mobile too.
All right, Team T-Mobile. Woo.
Yeah, I used to be very pro T-Mobile, but like, man, they're really making it hard. They really are.
They're, yeah. T-Mobile Tuesday. I don't get free voodoo movies anymore, so I'm just not happy with it.
Do they even still does that app still work? Do they still
It does. I get like really crappy magazines like every week. It's great. I could have had Good Housekeeping 6 times now. It would have been great.
The thing is, T-Mobile only does like the interesting stuff long enough to get the good PR for it, and then they're like, all right, that's over.
Are you saying that John Ledger just likes attention? I don't believe that for a moment.
I'm saying that John Ledger just likes money, is what I'm saying. I think we've talked about this before, but he is very likely a typical business guy who just wishes he could wear a suit like his friends, but he has to pretend to be the cool guy CEO because that's like the character he plays.
You don't think that's 100% sincere? I'm shocked.
But yeah,
well, maybe he won't have to play very long, because T-Mobile and Sprint might merge.
Yeah, we don't have that on our list, but I think that'd be interesting to discuss for a moment.
Yeah, I think that happened. I think since the last time we had a podcast,
almost a month ago, I think.
The mascot for the merged company will be a Two-Face, with part of it as the T-Mobile guy, and then the other half is the "Can you hear me" guy from Sprint.
So I was thinking the strawberry and banana Laffy Taffy would work really well.
Exactly.
Perfect colors.
So, it's I mean, I'm kind of surprised it's taken this long to get to the point where it looks like somebody is finally going to merge with Sprint, because SoftBank, I think, from very early on when they bought their stake in Sprint, wanted somebody to buy it. That did not turn out like they wanted it to.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Nothing turned out for SoftBank the way they wanted it to.
Yeah. I mean, and it's been years of rumors that it's going to happen, and they got a new CEO because like the other unannounced deal fell through, and now they're going to maybe do it, but Sprint keeps just bleeding subscribers, and their network is not getting better. And are their ads not like the saddest things?
They are. They had to freaking buy out another person's mascot. That's like, oh, and here's Jared from Subway as well.
And like, isn't it? It's weird that they're taking this approach, like, hey, all networks are pretty good. Ours is almost as good as the other guys. So like, why don't you just give it a shot? What do you have to lose? I think they've actually said what you have to lose.
Yeah,
it's not as embarrassing of Sprint as you think. Come on.
And then they did that ad campaign where they were like, "Oh, unlimited lines like $60," and then everyone went to the store. They were like, "Oh no, it's $60 if you bring 4 people."
Yeah.
Or they were doing that $22.50 for unlimited data per line thing. Yeah.
I would freaking hate to be a rep in one of those stores because their data plans change like every freaking week. I swear. You'd go into the store and be like, "Hey, I want to sign up for service. Actually, let me look through my binder here. I've got 40 plans that we've been for the last 3 months." Which one are you referring to?
And they also have, I think 3 or 4 ways you can buy phones now, because you can just buy it outright. You can get contracts on certain things. You can do monthly payment plans. You can
trade an organ. Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
And then T-Mobile is the same way. They have like 40 billion T-Mobile One plans now.
Yeah.
Well, it's just one, it's just one plus a little extra here and there. The other one.
That whole approach to the naming did not last long. They had like more than one plan after a week.
T-Mobile 100.
Oh, I see what you did there, Corbett. Well done.
Thank you.
But
the article that we posted earlier this month about this said that it was going to be announced by the end of the month, and here we are at pretty much the end of the month.
I'm holding out for you Monday.
I don't know. Or maybe tomorrow. Friday is a popular day to announce these sorts of things.
How is that going to work in terms of their network technology? Because they're really different. And that was a disaster when Sprint merged with who did they merge with back in the day? I can't even remember now.
That was
Nextel.
That's right. I'd forgotten all about them. That was a disaster for years for them. And we forecast similar issues with T-Mobile and Sprint merging, or the technology is different now than they were back then?
I think Sprint's intention has been to get away from CDMA for a while, and now VoLTE is a thing, so presumably it would be less obnoxious, but I'm sure it would not be without problems. Sprint has a lot of spectrum that they're not really putting to effective use, and T-Mobile has made a pretty concerted effort to improve its network in the last 4 or 5 years. So it has a reasonable amount of spectrum. It has actually vastly improved coverage than it had back then. And certainly the failed merger with AT&T, where they got all that free spectrum, was a big boost. But it seems like the combined company would have so much spectrum that they might actually run into regulatory issues. They might have to divest some of it, because it would put them like way in the lead as far as like spectrum licenses compared to AT&T and Verizon.
I don't think they would really have a problem with that anyway, though, because a lot of what they have, they really only bought it so either they could trade at a later point, or like it's sort of just a makeshift solution so that they can work around the really ideal channels that Verizon owns. So I don't. If that was the holdup, I'm sure somebody there is going to be really quick to say, "Yeah, sure, we'll sell it and make the money. No problem."
A lot of Sprint's spectrum is very high frequency. Like the stuff they had from Clearwire, I think is like 2,500 or something. It's way up there, so it's not good for like urban environments.
Yeah, my main concern is without Sprint for T-Mobile to wrestle in the mud, are we going to see prices increase across the board with all 3 carriers, or will T-Mobile continue being the price leader?
I can't see prices going up for Verizon and AT&T much more than they have. Like, they're already capping pretty heavy.
Yeah, I mean, I think T-Mobile is sort of is kind of already done with its hey, look at this crazy price thing we're going to do. They got what they wanted out of it. They're the number 3 carrier and growing quick. Sprint is obviously falling. I mean, something is going to happen to Sprint if T-Mobile doesn't buy them. Like, somebody somewhere is going to do something to Sprint, because I don't think it can continue the way it has been.
This is a totally random question, but I wonder how many people have never used T-Mobile purely based on the color of T-Mobile being that noxious magenta pink, not wanting to associate themselves with that color.
You have strange thoughts, Jeff.
I worked for T-Mobile for 2 years, and I had that thought a lot because I hated wearing that color. So.
You know, strangely, I kind of actually believe that. Though the counter is, would people really be, wouldn't people kind of want to go to Sprint for their green? Because I remember Sprint was really heavy on the green for a long time.
They're yellow, really yellow now, though.
Yeah, but they wore green. Like,
That's
all
like-
of their uniforms were always big green shirts.
That's either Team Slytherin or Hufflepuff, and I don't want to associate either one with it. That was a great segue to something.
Yeah.
Okay.
My
Well-
Harry Potter humor is not with me tonight.
Well,
I'll
do
get my
we
wife
want
off me with
to talk briefly about the Google Home situation? We found some things in a teardown that might be quite interesting.
So I'm not going to go into the full details of this because holy cow, that would be so boring. Short
Thank
version
you.
is tons and tons of stuff turned up in the latest Google app update that basically hints at there's going to be a Google Home with a screen. And it's pretty much an obvious, like, Amazon show. It was wait, show, was that the name of it?
Echo
Yeah.
Show.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Echo Show. Okay. You can see how much I pay attention to Amazon's product line.
It shows.
It does. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, that's pretty much the story. Like, that we have really good reason to believe it's coming. And I can't say too much about this, but we've since received a little bit more information, basically adding a little bit of more fuel to that fire. So it's pretty much a sure thing. There is going to be a Google Home with a screen.
So
I think they should
what,
call it Android TV. That'd be a really catchy name for it.
That's something, might as well use it.
Okay, so has anybody here actually used an Echo Show?
I have at a friend's house that works for Amazon. Not extensively, but just a little bit.
Did it seem like a thing that was a good idea?
No, I would much rather buy one of Amazon's $150 tablets and put it on the stand and do the exact same thing with that and carry it around my house and have this dedicated device with a grainy screen and crappy speaker that sits on my counter all the time and is kind of useless.
It's pretty expensive too, I think. The Echo
It
Show.
is. It's like $220 or something like that, I think.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what the advantage of having Assistant on a dedicated screen would be.
Well, Google gets cameras in your house. That'd be a great. Oh, hold on.
But there's no mention of a camera in it. Well, okay, actually, that's not entirely a certainty. There was a little bit in there that kind of hinted maybe that this might also give you fashion advice. I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding, but there is a slim possibility that was related.
That's like that's
the
a
Echo Show
separate.
So
That's a separate Amazon thing, isn't it? What was that?
it is.
It was
The Echo. Oh, yeah.
You're talking about the little
Who
one?
cares?
It was a camera that took
who knows?
pictures of you and gave you fashion advice.
It seems
Oh,
like
that thing. Oh, I loved hating on that thing. That was great.
but
Oh, we made so much.
Yeah, that was a really fun episode.
so look, I mean, if this Assistant with a touchscreen thing exists, I hope Google has some sort of way to pitch it, because I don't see why Assistant needs that at
I
all.
can see it with
Well-
daily news feeds or weather alerts or something for my bathroom. You know?
The two things that stood out from the teardown, one was definitely weather for sure. Like, it in the same way that they presented at Google I/O the Chromecast thing where it'll show you your weather updates on the TV. Like, that seems like a good idea. The other one was in use in the kitchen, like for recipes. And what it kind of looks like it would do is you ask it for a recipe on something and it'll take you step by step how to do it, presumably probably show pictures, and I think you could even give it like voice commands, like go to the next step or something like that.
So it's like hanging out with your grandma in the kitchen, in other words.
Yes.
Teaches you step by step how to cook. That's great.
Except without all the stories about them walking through the snow in their bare feet.
Oh, okay. Maybe they could add that. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I feel like Assistant probably should have that like as an option. There should be a bot that imitates your grandma.
That would be a great bot. Yeah. Have another cookie.
Why haven't you eaten
It
yet?
just randomly shouts that every now and then.
Give me 20 minutes. I will make this bot.
If we can actually get Google to certify that as an assistant bot, and it's just like says random like old person things, that'd be
awesome.
Oh,
was your age?
This is happening.
Do it, Cody.
But yeah, so if Google has this touchscreen thing, I think maybe that should be a launch feature.
Yes,
You know what?
the grandma bot.
Grandma bot.
You know what would be a cool idea for like a screen with Assistant as the main UI would be like a car dashboard. Like I know Android Auto is already a thing, but it sounds like I don't know. That seems like it'd be a good idea. Now, granted, you'd have to figure out how to get a data connection to it.
Well, a lot of cars they really want to put LTE in them, so you'll pay for another data plan. So that's the thing. I'm sure that could happen.
On that same note, did you guys hear about the Alexa dot thing that goes in your car? That's supposed to. I have no idea what I would do with Alexa in my car.
Are you sharing secrets you're not supposed to?
No, it was totally announced. This was not private information. So.
Okay, I missed this one, but I'm not surprised.
Are you sure it's not the little mini Garmin thing?
No, it's a little tiny dot that's meant to mount on your windshield, and you could talk to it while you're driving. I just have no idea what I would use Alexa for while I'm driving. Like maybe listen to Audible or Amazon Music.
I don't know. If there was one of those
so
that used Assistant, that'd be kind of neat for like Google Maps direction.
Yeah, for navigation stuff. It doesn't have navigation, which is like a huge part of the appeal of Google over Amazon, in my opinion. Sorry to segue again.
Technically, Android Auto does use Assistant now, kind of. It uses it in that
it is a different implementation. Actually, you want to hear something that's really just upsetting and ridiculous?
I would love to.
A few weeks ago, Chamberlain, which makes a smart garage door opener, frankly, even though it's terrible, it's one of the best smart garage door openers because all of those are terrible. They announced Assistant integration, so you'd be able to like control your garage door with Assistant. You can talk to it and have it close. You can't open it though because of security or whatever. And I thought, well, maybe this will be useful. I'll try it. And then they were like, oh, by the way, it's $1 a month. Okay, that's stupid. That's stupid.
Open your garage door?
I'll still try it just out of curiosity because there's a free trial. So I was like, okay. I set it up, and then I was leaving the house, and I was in my car, and I had Android Auto, and I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to it. I'm going to tell it to close the door. And I did it. I said the phrase, and it and Google thinks for a second, and it goes, sorry, that feature isn't available on this device.
Oh, are you kidding me?
So I was like, how do you have a garage door opener and your assistant commands don't work in Android Auto? That is the stupidest thing I have ever heard.
Yeah. I could just imagine that going awry, though, man. You have to update your payment method. You like your credit card expires. You're like, open my garage. You're like, sorry, you haven't paid this month. You're not getting in your house.
I know. I know that you're making a joke, but like it is serious. It was seriously a terrible experience. Just setting it up was the most annoying thing imaginable. And then like when I was like, okay, this is real dumb. I'm gonna cancel it before the trial's up. Even harder.
6 layers of customer service.
So that was terrible. So I don't recommend that anybody even considers paying $1 a month for that.
I do see one place where that might be useful, and that's if you're like 4 hours away from home and you can't remember if you closed your garage door or not. You're like, wait, did I leave the sink on? It's like that, but for garage doors.
That could have prevented the whole plot of Home Alone right there, guys.
No, you know what prevents the plot of Home Alone? Cell phones. A cell phone makes that movie not happen.
That too, but this is a close second to that. So.
Yeah. I actually have a camera in my garage anyway, so I don't need to ask Chamberlain these things. It can go to hell, Chamberlain.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, man.
I strongly dislike Chamberlain.
I would like to read a review about this. It'd be great. So, lots of fireworks.
All right. So do we have anything else that we want to talk about? There was
Animal Crossing.
Jeff had something.
I have a show and tell if you guys would be
Yeah,
interested.
we'll do Jeff's.
sure.
So I got basically JBL's.
Emphasis on the tell though, because this is the podcast.
All right, I'll just show it briefly for people who are looking. These are JBL Everest 750 NC headphones right here. Oh, sorry, Everest Elite 750 NC. They're JBL's top of the line headphones for this year, and they have noise canceling built in them. And I've been playing around with them for the last few weeks in my review. Full review's coming out tomorrow, but they are pretty decent headphones. I initially wasn't super enamored with the sound on them, but they released a software update this week, and it's markedly improved now. About 15 hours of battery life. Comfort is good. The price point, I also wasn't really wild at. They launched at $300, which is really close to Bose at $350 with what I think is a very superior headphone. Is it the 35? Is that what the new model is for Bose with the Google?
The QC35 too.
Yeah, I mean Bose really has the corner on the market in terms of noise cancellation technology, I think. But yesterday, right when I was about to publish my review, they dropped the price from $300 to $230, which like totally changed my conclusion and my analysis of the headphones, because at $230, they're a much better value than they are at $50 less than the Bose headphones. And noise cancellation's very good. They also have kind of a cool ambient aware mode where you can change the amount of outside noise that comes in through the headphones. So if you're wanting some noise cancellation but also able to hear some things as you're walking through the city, you can let some noise bleed through, which is cool. They come with a nice carry case as well, which I always appreciate with a high-end set of headphones. And yeah, pretty nice set of headphones. I'll be talking about them more in depth tomorrow in my review.
That reminds me. You want to know something kind of ridiculous about the 150 Libratone headphones? They don't come with a case. No case at all.
Well, you got a Ziploc bag, right? They probably.
I mean, sure.
Eco-conscientious.
That's a little, I guess. But yeah, that just struck me as pretty weird. All right. Well, unless anybody has anything else to discuss.
What is this game you guys are talking about in the chat?
Oh God.
Animal Crossing.
Okay. So look, we were talking about this a little bit. We were talking about this a little bit before the show. I don't know anything about this other than the name and that it's a thing people like.
I've never heard of it either. I'm really fascinated by it.
I played it a little bit back on the GameCube all those years ago, but not since.
So let's talk like a 10-second synopsis here. Yeah. What is it?
So basically, Animal Crossing is one of Nintendo's sort of long-running series. The first one, I believe, was for the GameCube.
Yeah.
But it's been super popular in the past couple of years because of the 3DS game, which is called New Leaf. Basically, the plot of that game is that you are a mayor of a town, and you can pretty much do whatever you want. But the main objective
like all mayors, obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or presidents.
You can, So the sort of main goal is to help the villagers in your town, and in exchange for that, you can get, they'll get like friends with you, and you can build stuff in your town and all that kind of stuff. It's like a
SimCity sort of.
Well, it's like
you do things, and then like when you make people happy, you can build things. That's
sort of it's like a very casual simulation game, if that makes sense.
I see.
So it's there's not a whole lot to it. It's just very fun. And that sort of really casual gameplay lends very well to a mobile game. So honestly, if Nintendo released a full port of that game to mobile, I think it would do very well, but that's not what this game is.
Is it not on mobile, or am I talking about something that's not even on Android right now?
Well, the one I was just talking about was for the 3DS, but they just announced a mobile game, which is Animal Crossing Pocket Camp.
Oh, okay.
And this is coming out next month. It's already out in Australia for some reason, so some people have sideloaded the APK.
Well, they're on the other side of the world, so things happen sooner over there.
It is actually the future there. Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So Liam's pointing out you can go fish and get into massive debt. He's correct.
I mean, I can do that in real life.
Yeah.
Fishing is expensive. You ever been to Bass Pro Shop? Man, crazy expensive.
That basically that's like a Xenia game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You walk in for some worms, you walk out with a boat. It's crazy.
Contribute to that massive debt problem.
Okay, so what I'm getting is that it's a casual simulation game. So like, why is the Android one inferior? What about it makes it not the full game?
Well, it's obviously they're probably not going to release a full version of their game because then no one would buy presumably one for the Switch that would come out at some point in the future. But I would say that this is probably like 70% of a full Animal Crossing game. Basically, instead of a town, you run a campsite, which you can still build things in and have characters come in and out and interact with them. And instead of a house that you can like upgrade and fill with furniture, you just get like an RV.
I see.
So it's kind of like the white trash version of the game. Then is what you're saying.
Sounds very tantalizing.
Yeah. So like, what is this? Is this a free to play game? Is Nintendo gonna cash in on this?
Of course
it is. It is free to play. I will say though that it does not seem like a completely shameless, because from the trailer there's two currencies that it looks like it has. It has the bells, which is the main currency in all the games, and that's how you build buildings and upgrade things, and that's what the characters will give you in exchange for.
I'll tell you right now, there's going to be one big problem on the Android version, though. That's the colors won't be as vibrant. And that's because of the screen problems they're having on the Pixel. So,
well, look, if I could, my 3DS has like a 240p screen, so I think this will still look better.
Well, I mean, luckily this isn't coming out everywhere until next month, and by then we should have the Pixel update with the more vibrant color options. So
thank goodness, man! It would ruin the game if we didn't have those vibrant colors.
Yeah,
got to be able to see the animals.
I concur wholeheartedly that something about Animal Crossing is important and we should care about it.
Yes. On that note.
Yes. So unless we have any other games I've never heard of to talk about, I think we will call it for the week. So thank you for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. You guys say good night, guys? Any of you? No.
No.
Bye.
That's my job.
Jeff. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Maybe I could and have a nice week. That's great.
What are you guys still here for? Go away.
Yeah.
Are you talking to me or everyone else?